Tell us when it goes live. Oh, there we go. We're live. Hello, dear star shines. Christina here with Light Body Academy. Welcome to today's lunchtime chats. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I'm an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us starseeds, new paradigm way showers, and visionaries. Because we have perceptions and abilities that aren't necessarily embraced by our larger human family. Therefore, we have very unique perspectives and challenges. So we're here to talk about that, and I'm here to do my best to provide a liberated perspective on these pieces. And, you know, I keep saying stuff's intense, but just kind of every week it gets more intense. So yet another crazy week here on planet Earth. Hello, dear Sheen. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. You guys, as you come in, well, we only have a couple people. As you come in, say hi. Hello, dear sister Carol from Minnesota. Glad to see you. So you guys may notice that I'm in a different place than usual. Well, whatever usual is. I'm often lately I've been in my rig in the eastern slope of the Appalachian Mountains, and now I'm on the western slope. Or am I in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains?
You are the kind of northeastern.
Okay, so
Asheville.
Yeah, we're west of Asheville. That's where we are right now. And you might notice I have a dear sister Starshine here. This is Carrie. Welcome, Carrie, to the chats.
Thank you.
Let's see. What do I say about Carrie the Extraordinaire, so you guys can get a quick taste of. All right. So she is a mom and a passionate mother, but also deeply interested and practicing the mysteries, feminine mysteries, mystical experiences, energy medicine, healing through the subconscious.
Yeah.
Is there other things you would throw in there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I have been a spiritual counselor and depth hypnosis practitioner for over 12 years now, and Christina and I have done a few of the same things throughout the years, and yeah, I would say the work that you guys are doing is very par to what I've been doing. I just guide my clients into a state of deep relaxation so that they can receive, and I'm receiving with them. So I'm tracking, but also allowing them to dive into their consciousness and experience it themselves. And yeah, so
sounds like you're passionate about that.
I love it. Yeah,
awesome.
It's really sweet. But yeah, it's just diving into the mystery and the magnificence of this divine, crazy play that we're a part of right now.
Ooh, and has that play gone crazy or what?
Yeah, it's so fascinating.
Yes, you can say that. I think there's a few other adjectives we would use.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, let's say hi to dear sister Joanne. Yay, so glad you're here, darling, all the way from Hawaii and Palau. Welcome. And dear Sheen says, is it possible to increase the volume? Well, it's not, but what I can do is bring this closer to us. So I'll go ahead and make that adjustment. Here, you hold that, and I'll move this, and we'll bring it closer to us like that. Ooh, now we're like up close and personal. Mm-hmm. Get all cozy with my dear Starshine here. There we go. Okay. Sheen, let us know if that's better. We're closer to the device now. I don't have a lavalier for my iPad, so this is probably the best we're going to get. Mm-hmm. All right. So, guys, there's all kinds of shenanigans to talk about. You normally in the beginning of Thursdays, I'm kind of going through the different feeds. I'm going through our Telegram group, the multidimensional human group on Telegram, looking at the conversations happening, and of course the Rise group on Facebook. But I didn't do that this morning because I was driving. So I would love if you guys threw some things out there that are some challenges that you're facing right now. I know that there's some huge hubbub going on that is actually unraveling a fascinating distortion within the feminine consciousness. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you want to if you're feeling like you're.
I just saw this, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was
before we go into that, because that's amazing. What you're about to say with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you guys aren't sick of hearing about Roe v. Wade yet, I have some alternate thoughts that maybe maybe are relevant to you guys. Because so far, what I'm hearing is the religious argument and the civil rights argument, but there's much deeper things going on in that narrative. Yeah. I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? What's in your awareness about this stuff? Our dear sister Starshine Stacy, remember Stacy Hernandez?
Yeah.
She's a facilitator here at Life Body, and she ended up posting a video in our Rise group of a woman, I can't remember her name, and she does tarot cards readings and stuff like this, and she reads the collective with her tarot. And she had a very interesting take on the whole thing. Her perspective was that this was all part of a deliberate plan to create awakening within the collective. That's highly summarized.
Yeah.
But pretty much that's what her card said.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so what kind of awakening do you think they need to have? What is it that we need to wake up to?
Well, personally, I mean, I think that we need to wake up to the reality of our consciousness and our interplay with the unseen realms of how we can communicate.
You gotta speak up louder.
Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, I feel personally that this is a call for us to really reprogram ourselves and our consciousness around sexuality and our ability to communicate with the seen and unseen realms. I've been doing a lot of work with women for a long time, and most women that I've worked with have had abortions.
Really? Wow. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I will come out and say, like, I also was a part of that decision too when I was 17.
Okay.
And it comes with a lot of consequences, right? But there's not any woman that I have spoken with that would take back and redo their decision. It was a very firm yes for them because of the ostracization that they would have.
They imagine what happened for them.
Yeah, exactly. And or it was a sacrifice of their education. I mean, right, we all know why we would choose that. But every single person that I have worked with, including myself, I mean, I don't feel as triggered by the concept of it because I've done so much deep work on it. And as we've been saying, like, we're doing this work, right? Because we're triggered by these things, and all these things are coming up for us at this time. Every little thing that is triggering us is, just a signpost for us to sink in, to understand those deeper layers.
Yeah, that's something important for the much bigger message. So all these crazy shenanigans are happening, and we're having these big reactions from this announcement and that announcement. I mean, you just throw a penny somewhere, you're going to hit a few things that are triggering for people. Right? And that's been my take on it too. It's like, take what triggers you and work it in the way that you know to work it, so you're that much less triggerable later.
Exactly.
And what happens, you end up becoming unstoppable in a way, because you can't be controlled by fear and the programming that's hiding deep in your cells and in your subconscious. So,
but what I was going to say about that and working with the women, it's like there's so much grief and there's so much sadness to work with, through this experience of Roe versus Wade. And I think it's a chance for us to look at how it is we want to go forward in teaching sexuality. I have 2 girls, and I think that it's so important that we really begin to teach and understand what sacred sexuality looks like.
Yeah, and that our bodies aren't our enemy. That's a big thing. If women, if we learned how to work with our body, know our cycles deeply, there would be no need for something like that.
Right.
There would be no need for birth control either, because we would have command of that part of ourselves.
Yeah, and that ability also to call in our children.
Yes.
And the souls of who we want to invite into our being. And also, if there's an experience, and I've done this with clients, it's like with women who are having difficulty getting pregnant, it's working with that aspect of it also, and calling that in and what that looks like. And women get pregnant pretty quickly soon after that when they're having difficulty. And then also working with women who have gotten pregnant out of unexpected pregnancy, and being able to communicate with the soul of that child and saying, hey, this isn't the best time. And it's pretty, I mean, there have been some experiences where miscarriage has happened.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have to say that I'm not in complete resonance with that idea, just because for me, and I don't judge other women that do this, because I have several friends that have been put in circumstances where that was their way, that they did. But I personally, because I'm aware of, life happens in the moment of conception.
Completely,
right? And there's a field there. For me, it's like I feel like it's a violation against my soul. The whole idea of abortion even being possible. But with that said, our government has no business telling us what we can do with our bodies. I don't think that, right?
Yeah. I mean, despite what anybody's decision is, it comes with a great consequence. Yeah. It comes with a huge consequence, and I think that's what we all need to work with. If you have had that, if you have chosen that experience, there's a lot of energy to work through, a lot of grief, and to call in the child of that soul and speak with them, talk with them, have a conversation with them, what needs to be known.
So it's changing the story into a healing story.
Right.
The wounding into a healing.
Yeah. And also working with the root chakra energy, because it can be really blocking too, if you have had that experience.
Sure. Even if you were a soul that had that experience and you're coming in again, that could be part of it. Yeah, betrayal of the mother. Yes, yes. So it's a lot more complicated. See, these are the kinds of conversations around it I find a lot more interesting, other than the whole like religious thing, or the left versus the right. It's like that's it doesn't even feel relevant. It feels like it's just a bunch of noise. It's not actually talking about the real piece here.
Yeah. And that rejection piece, because when you start talking with the soul of the child who has been aborted, it's like there is a huge rejection that they feel, the soul of that child that they feel.
Yes.
And so where is it that where's that mirror too, where we felt that rejection?
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Forsakenness by God is a huge wound for humanity, isn't it? Yeah. Massive. Matter of fact, that's probably why we're all doing this right now. Why we're in this. What did you call it? You called it divine theater? Is that what you call it?
Divine theater, yes. Man, we're all in it.
yes. And jokers and hyokas are all part of the party. All right, dear Sister Beverly says, perhaps it was meant for the woman to experience that grief. Right, exactly. So everything facilitates us. It's just a matter of how we choose to relate to these experiences. If you relate to experience that keeps it in pain and keeps it in suffering and keeps it in darkness and shame and guilt and in wounding, then you're just gonna have to address it next time. So you take advantage of the opportunity. Yeah. So say a tragic situation like that does happen, and you do have to make a decision like that. That, like Carrie was saying, you can turn that into a massive healing story for you, all the women in your lineage, the soul of the child, and everybody connected to them. We can do that, people. You guys know this, dear starseeds. We can do that. We have that power. That interdimensional ripple effect. And it's all up to us. We don't need anything other than ourselves to make that happen.
Right.
Yeah. No products required. Cool. Thank you for that, Beverly. So the other part of it, the real dark part of it, I feel like is the next layer to wake up to, and that's the medical industry and the corruption of the pharmaceutical industry, the corruption of allopathic medicine. For one, allopathic medicine does not take good care of women. There's like birth controls, for example. Over half of the hormonal birth controls are known to feed breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and uterine cancer. And then they wonder why so many women have it, and then they don't tell them or warn them. Like, it's up to her to put her glasses on and read the really tiny fine print. By the way, there's a rare possibility, which what they mean is a possibility, that this will develop tumors in breast tissue.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the medical industry in general does not respect the human or the female form in any way, shape, in my opinion.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and all of the advances we've made have been women coming into the medical industry, bucking it, and then going their own route. And usually they get ostracized because they're not going along with the program, especially all those wonderful healers out there, holistic medicine workers, but also MDs that have been doing breakthrough work with hormone health. You know, they finally figured out that menopause doesn't have to be uncomfortable, or you can't, it doesn't have to be a, you know, there's a lot of symptoms that come with it that are very uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
There's actually, that's all about your hormones and how you live, and you know what I mean? Again, tuning into the body. Right?
Yeah. I'm going through it right now.
Oh, me too.
It's a whole other talk, right? There's so many great herbs, like oils, like using oils, geranium and pine pollen for testosterone. It's like, I mean, I can, give you a list of different oils. That
List some of those oils. List them.
So, let's see, pine pollen for testosterone, geranium for estrogen, and
I've really been resonating with it a lot lately, because you know when you resonate with the oil, it smells like extra amazing. Yeah, geranium's been like that for me.
Yeah, and then of course wild yam for progesterone, and then I don't know, Vitex is a herbal supplement that you can get that it has quite a few different reactions for the body hormonally, but it's been, and exercise. I feel like exercise is so important.
Yes, it is. Again, hormones. Yeah.
And just getting like the contraction and expansion of the body to create that vitality is super important for inducing the hormones, and the breath too. I mean, that's going back to, you know, the yogic practices that really increase the hormonal levels and keep them at a
like stimulating the parasympathetic response and stuff like this. Yeah.
The Mula Bandha, but the Mula Bandha and the different bandhas, like the contraction and expansion, that's helping the ovaries. It's, you know.
Oh yes, of course.
Activating.
That makes total sense. Yes. So stimulation. So the bandhas that she's talking about, there's these locks that you can do in your body where you hold the root or you hold the solar plexus, and there's also one up here. I can't remember what this one's called. Do you remember the throat lock?
The starts with a J.
Okay, the throat block that starts with a J. And
I think I don't know. That's another thing that comes along with it, right?
It sounds like J. We think. But it's also a way to so physically stimulate, but it also is a way to hold energy and let it build and get really strong in your system, and that's very purifying as well. Okay. Anyway, let's.
Frankincense, myrrh, lemongrass, grapefruit are also good.
Awesome. Thank you, Sheen. That's wonderful. Hello, dear Anthony. Hello, dear Bonfig. Oh, darn it! I don't want to mutilate that name. I can't see it very well either. Bonfiglione. Thank you. Hey, Laura. Good to see you too, darling. All right. So there's more to it. So the medical industry really can care less about women. We're treated, when we're pregnant, we're treated like we're diseased. That's weird. There's also, there's medications that are known to have really disastrous effects. But it's like, but it's no big deal. You know, so there's, and plus, if you get any kind of cancer, the first thing they want to do is take out your plumbing and cut off your breasts. It's like, what a way to psychologically and emotionally damage someone who's already ill. So I know this is not great topics talk, or a great thing to, it doesn't feel good to think about these things, but this is what I mean. These are the kinds of things we need to be thinking about, because this industry that this decision is around is broken, is corrupt. So now the later term abortion stuff, it's like they developed this technique several years ago, and I heard about it because I can't remember where the article was, but it was more of kind of like a medical type journal, and they were remarking on the advancements they've made with abortion procedures, and the way they are now is like they keep the organs of the fetus/infant viable as long as possible. They can now keep the heart beating longer when the being is outside the womb space, like really, really demented stuff like this. So wow. It's a huge industry. Did you guys know that a lot of your beauty serums are made from?
No. I do all natural stuff.
Yeah,
so
me too.
It's like I'm not
But women,
aware.
there's these bottles of cosmetics. Mila Jovovich talked about it. It's like this it's like $3,000 for this bottle like this, and she puts it over her entire body every night. And it has these kinds of, it's made from these kinds of things, you know? And then you also have processed food that has some really nasty elements in it. And then you have, of course, all these pharmaceuticals, including vaccines.
Wow.
So it's big bucks, it's big business. I would like to hear that talked about in reference to what this decision is. You know, I'd really like to hear that kind of conversation, because I think people would wake up real fast and realize, all right, the programming that we think it's about, it's not really about that. It's more to it. Because it's not about bodily autonomy anymore, because we already got that challenge with the mandates, right? And so there's a thought that's out there that all of the shenanigans, as painful as it is actually working for us. It actually is waking up people. It is, even though it's super stressful and we're getting triggered left and right and sideways, right? And again, if we work it works in our advantage, right? If we work those triggers. But it's like, it's giving people no place to turn. It's like the head in the sand can't work anymore. It's like the sand's getting taken away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a thought that part of the, I don't know, what do you call it? Black hat, white hat agenda. I don't know. I hate to use those terms. They're associated with that Q movement, but it kind of describes it. I don't know if you guys noticed, though, I just read another thing this morning. Q is back, evidently. I had no idea. I'm not a follower, so I don't really know much about it. But evidently it went silent and then came back. And the mainstream media is talking about it, which is weird. I mean, I think it's weird. But now Q has been subpoenaed to come forth on the January 6th committee. Isn't that strange? This fictitious character that nobody knows who it is, nobody knows the group of people that it might be. Well, all right, there is a theory that it's this one guy. There was I can't remember his name, but this one guy came forward and said he's Q. Who knows if it's true or not? This was a few years ago. I don't know if anybody out there, do you guys know what happened? Yeah, I don't either. The guy came, he was on, there was a TV or an interviewer out of Mount Shasta, has his own channel, that had him on as a guest and said, yeah, bombshell, I'm Q. And shared a bunch of stuff. And he sounded very, in the now kind of philosophy kind of guy. Who knows if it's the truth or not. But that's the only time I've ever heard anybody claiming that identity. But anyway, they're getting subpoenaed. How do you subpoena someone you have no idea who it is? I don't know. All right. So what else is in there? Oh yeah, your story.
About.
Yeah. So, before you, I'm gonna segue it real quick.
One?
So you guys, there's this other weird, demented twist that's getting revealed that women are going to unravel. And there's several pieces to it. One of them is, other women not protecting other women from violence, from sexual violence, assault, and stuff like this. But then there's also this piece that you're talking about.
So right before I was about to meet Christina, I was on Facebook messaging her, and then I saw this post that popped up from a friend of mine who had shared a photo of a cake from a bakery in Chattanooga with the red dress and bonnet from The Handmaid's Tale. And I haven't read the book or watched the videos or the film, but there are all these women who were like, yes, that's awesome, when can I pick up my cake? And I mean, I've seen the previews of the films, and to me it just looks like a lot of rape and abuse and violence towards women, like they're being farmed out to
be surrogate moms
to rich, wealthy, aristocrat men. And I just asked, I was like, I don't understand, can you please help me understand why you are cheering on an icon or, a label, a logo for abuse and violence towards women. And I assume it's because of Roe versus Wade, but help me. And so they just wrote back, and a lot of them were saying that it was that our freedom is precious, and babies are precious, and we're on a slippery, it's a book about the slippery slope of freedom. So I'd love to hear what you all have to say about that, because I was
That's very confusing and convoluted, isn't it?
Completely convoluted.
Yeah.
And inside out, upside down. So many, just like what we've been seeing with everything.
Yeah, yet another inversion.
Another
inversion brought forward. All right, dear Sister Polly's commenting here. She's saying a subpoena cannot be served on cue if the name isn't known and the address can't be confirmed. So what's the game here? Yeah, what's the game here, right? I can't remember what news source was saying that. No, it was a quote. It was one of the senators, one of the senators on that committee. Oh yeah, I'll have some. Thank you. Announced it on like a news announcement. What do they call that? Press release. Thank you. Water is precious. Yeah. So the games are afoot hardcore these days, guys. And I mean, for those of us who've been, we've been working our stuff, so now it's kind of exciting. Actually, it's like, oh, wait a minute, what other kind of outrageous thing's going to happen tomorrow?
So fascinating.
It is. It's fascinating. But I think, it's a testament to the depth and sincerity of the work that we're doing, that we can actually be in a place of like, wow, this is fascinating. This is absolutely amazing. So if you guys are in a similar place, or maybe you visit a similar place, that's giving your dedication, your healing journey a lot of credit, because there's some people right now that are really upside down and backwards over a lot of things. Here we go. I think we keep shifting around. What's going on? We're going.
Right.
We're on a boat now.
Just rolling with it.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys go ahead, put in the comments if you have a question, or if there's something that you want to talk about. My mind has been very in the moment lately. So things that we may have mentioned, asked a few days ago are not in my brain. So you can re-ask the question, like if you put it into a group and you, and I said I would talk about it in the chats. You can put it in the chats now, and I can just remind me about it. The only thing I ask, that don't ask me to interpret dreams on this kind of chat. And the reason why is because dreams are sacred. They are very, very personal. And that's not something I would recommend resolving or looking through on a public forum like this. Though I'm happy to help people unravel their dreams. There's really powerful dream time happening right now for a lot of the star shines out there. And remember, dream time is the precursor to what's manifesting here in this reality as well. So, I mean, every feeling, every scenario that's in your dream, it's not just a dream. It's showing you something. It's mirroring something very important for you to own, feel, and have. So you can, so it's not your system anymore, and you can have a clearer lens the next time you go into dream time. And those of us, have really been actively doing that. The lens in the dream time is getting so clear. It's like just waking up with a feeling, something really big happened when you're dreaming, and maybe you only have a flash, but you can feel the energy coursing, through your system. So that's the place we need to return to. We need to reclaim ourselves, reclaim our dream time, so we can return to that depth of connection. Then you don't feel disconnected when you're having that every night. It doesn't matter what your outside reality is going on, that you get a reminder of the depth of the connection you have with Source, with your higher self, with your essence, So let's see, what else has been popping up for folks? Okay, so there's more evidence of the solar flash coming forward. I haven't talked about that in a little while. I was asked about it a while ago. There's more evidence of that. I find it very interesting. I'm excited for it if it is going to happen. Do you know what I mean about it, the solar flash?
Yeah, I mean, I don't follow it like you do, but I see some of your posts and stuff occasionally about them, and I've watched some of the videos that you've posted.
Okay. So Yeah, well, something that's interesting. So, something I've never really liked was when people channel information and they talk about what's gonna happen. It's like, that gets me. So I don't really like to say like, things are gonna happen. Like this awakening is gonna happen at this time because it's happened so many times and nothing has happened. It's like either these beings are not who they say they are, or these beings are just so far removed from our reality that they're not really able to give an accurate time frame. Maybe they can give an accurate intent, but they can't actually tell you when it's going to manifest in your reality. So I've always had a dislike for this is going to happen. But I do track and I look for signs, signs that indicate that, oh, something is coming, right? So that's really the way I like to talk about it. It's like, and some people are having dreams. Some people are just getting these intuitive senses that during a certain time frame they need to be this place or that place or whatever. I'm curious if you guys have that too. Are you getting hits of being in specific places at certain times, or maybe just kind of getting the sense that you need to lay low for the summer, or maybe something coming up for the fall? Now, this isn't different than it's going to happen because the information that you're going off of is right here, right now in your body. So that for me, that has a different twist. I don't know if you have a different idea about that or not.
I mean, I just feel that, it's something, an intuitive sense that I get before something's going to happen. And, or sometimes it happens in dreams, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so it's like, we get these senses that something's coming, but we don't know what, but something.
And sometimes you have a feeling of like what the energy might be, but you don't exactly know like the event of what's going to happen. But
the flavor.
the flavor. Yeah,
like,
you can feel that.
Yeah. It's kind of like, yeah, absolutely. I find that like for a beginner, maybe like when you're looking at a tarot card, you get a feeling when you're looking at that card, something like that. Yeah. All right, dear Sister Polly says, Margaret Atwood wrote the book based on history. Although women are mistreated terribly, there are heroines who fight back. She's talking about the book. What's the name of it again?
The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, that's it. And I believe ultimately prevail against tyranny. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we like to hear a hero in there. So it's not all. So it's like they set the stage of this is the abuse, and then these are the heroines that get them out of it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I need to read the book. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were a little bit perplexed by the post of the cakes.
Yeah, I would think mentioning the heroine would be an important part.
That would be a really important part.
Oh boy, that's pretty funny. Thank you, Polly, so much for clarifying
that out.
Yes. See, together we are all way more knowledgeable.
For sure, because I was really,
Yeah, well, you mentioned it, and I'm just as ignorant to the story. So I'm like, wow, that just doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, we were walking here. I'm like, I went a little triggered by that, so I do need to set some time to kind of go into that. But that makes sense, Polly. Thank you.
Yes. All right, so you guys might be wondering what you could be doing in the here and now to assist maybe with others in the collective processing these triggers. Okay, I'm talking about bodily autonomy triggers. I'm talking about, or maybe you think it is a crime. You also feel like it's a crime against the soul, and there should be rules against it, or maybe there should be more rules about the ethics, or whatever might be a trigger for you. And I just mentioned that because there's this massive, I want to call it womb awakening happening, and it's funny because those of us who, in the academy, those of us who've been able to get together here and there, we get together and been doing some work, tracking work and healing work with the womb space. It's profound. I mean, wow, it's profound.
There's a lot there.
And anyway, so we were just we're doing that, and we're also working with the feminine mysteries, and all this other stuff is coming up, and then it just happenstance. You mentioned, I think it was last week or something in a conversation that you're feeling really drawn to do womb space work,
Well, I created a program 3 years ago. Well, right before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I called it Into the Womb, Birthing the Divine and Dangerous Mother. And it was using a lot of sacred paths of initiation, like doing deep soul work, but then also bringing it into a container of working with the earth and doing sacred paths and burials and sweat lodge and like working with the elements and like, you know, so it's practicing the art of surrender and the art of receiving and giving. I mean, there's just all these different energetic aspects of that we would be working with, but it's fascinating because I filled the program. I'm just saying this because you had mentioned that you might be interested. I'd love to talk to you about eventually, it's fascinating that now it got, the whole program got completely kiboshed because of COVID-19, and then now it's kind of, I've been really anxious to like find land to be able to work with in this way, and now that all of this has rolled out, I'm kind of blown away, you know, that now my soul is like, yes, like it's time now. And, you know, I had gotten the domain and, you know, I'd written things up and I'm still working on it. It's still a work in progress, but it's just fascinating that all of this stuff is coming up around the womb work and
Well, the part that's really blown me away, it's not surprising, and it's not surprising, but it also is surprising that we all are very independent in the way we're working, but we're all doing the same kind of work. We're all attracted to doing the same work. Isn't that beautiful, guys? I mean, this is a synchronicity beyond anything that our human minds can wrap around.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm taking that as an indication that it's time. It's time for all of this to get set straight. On a much bigger, you know,
level.
Exactly, on a much bigger level.
Yeah. But it's going to take all of us.
It does. It's going to take all of us.
And mothers and fathers.
Dads.
Like, we've got to get on the, you know, on the train of learning about our energy body and learning about the sacredness of our being.
Yeah, our biosuits. I mean, these are hyperdimensional suits, and they're not sacks of meal. They're sacred. They can bring divine beings into this realm. Right? I mean, how many, right now we're doing some, several people in the academy are in a class where we're learning about divine birthing and sex rights and all the different divine birthing stories that have been distorted and canceled out in our history. And by doing so, it actually hijacks our timeline. By changing those stories, because we all have a cellular memory that connects to those people, to the beings that were doing that, because it's an omnipresent type experience. So reclaiming those stories actually cleans up the clutter, and you actually, as a result, by reconnecting with those energies, you're canceling out all of these false timelines of probabilities that just are no longer there anymore. And I know last week I went really deep into timeline jumping, so I won't do it again today, but that's a really big deal. The kinds of stories that are informing us about our past, the kinds of stories that are informing us about who we are. You think that the story is just a story, or a lot of people think that, but that's not true. It has a much deeper impact. Much deeper impact. Another thing I was thinking about is people are, is talking about ET disclosure stuff. All right, is this a realm at all that you're interested in?
I mean, I feel like I've had connections for sure.
Sure, right? Oh, of course you have. Of course you have. Well, pretty much all of us have, probably, in this channel. But the thing that I was thinking about was taking the human collective shenanigans and connecting it into exopolitics. So there. How do I say this? How do I map this out? So we have all these stories in the collective about ETs and what they are. And I don't know about you, but I actually don't resonate with any of those stories. I mean, it seems like, as a matter of fact, those stories invalidate my own experience which took me a while to get over. I don't know if you guys have had that too. Those of you who've been in communication with different star beings, maybe in dream time, maybe in meditation or whatever. Have you ever listened to disclosure stories and feel like there's no match at all? There's no resonant connection between these two things, right? I think that's done on purpose. It's done on purpose to set the collective up to be in a fear-based relationship to the ET exopolitics, and that's so we don't actually claim our birthright as galactic citizens and realize that we actually have the capacity to be on equal terms with these beings. They really are our family. So many of our indigenous stories tell us that. And I'm trying to tie it in here to the how I'm suspecting that the Project Bluebeam is going to be a miserable failure because they don't realize how awake humanity is. Okay, you guys familiar with Project Bluebeam? I know you've been kind of quiet. Thank you, Paula. You've been totally getting into it with us. So Project Bluebeam is a fake alien invasion done with holograms and explosive stuff like this. And the whole idea is that it's to jar the population and then pave the way for an ET contact experience where it's official and everybody knows, everybody sees the ship, and they get down and they meet with our leaders. And the first thing they're going to tell our leaders is that all the weaponry of the planet needs to be destroyed. And then if they do, they'll help us. So you can see how, yes, that's what we want, but no, that's not what we want. It's like it's a game. It's another political game. Right. It's an exo-political game. So I feel like these narratives that we're given on the disclosure movement keep our minds really small in relationship to it, so we don't recognize that there's actually ET politics. Right? So when an ET comes down and sets their intent, we're looking at it as benevolent ETs rather than looking at it as a politician representing a race. Doesn't that change the perspective when you look at it that way? Right? So actually, let me make sure we're okay, just checking the time and where our batteries are at and stuff like this. So someone was mentioning there's all these articles getting released, and it was like setting the stage for Project Bluebeam. It really looked like that. It's like, NASA invested in a whole other Earth defense grid. The Pentagon has invested so many more $1 billion in researching the ET contacts that have been happening, because there have been messages through the those radio things.
The satellites.
Yeah, the radio telescope, right? They're reading all these frequencies, and there's messages coming from Vega, and there's messages coming from another star system. I can't remember which one. And it was actually titled ET Contact. Wow. And mainstream media is reporting this.
I know. It's been interesting to see all that mainstream media has been talking about throughout the years.
It is, isn't it? Yes. Yeah. And it's like, it's weird because we say it's real. Look, it was on the news. How backwards is that?
Yeah.
Too funny.
I don't watch the news, but I'll see little reels, and it is pretty amazing.
That's about as much news as I see too. Yeah. I value my sanity. Actually,
I do. I don't. Yeah, we have to be really careful about, and that's another thing we were talking about, boundaries.
Oh, yeah. That's a good thing about the boundaries, guys. So, dear Sister Starshine here is one of the rare people that. It's okay if I say this?
Yeah.
One of the rare people that have never been in a narcissistic relationship.
No, I have now.
Well, but up until then, she was adult before she experienced it. Let's say it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a mind fuck, kind of. I had received visions from my ancestors about all that was going to happen. This happened like 9-10 years ago, about all the things that were going to happen, kind of that have already happened in terms of the COVID era, and had seen the history of the Native Americans on the land that I now live on, and that it was really important that we find community. And I was given kind of the location of where the land was. It was near the Pisgah National Forest. And I saw different landmarks of the land, like this pink energetic city, and then different like land grids and there was a lot. It happened over a year of these different visions, and finally I told my husband, like, we have to find this land. And so he's like, okay. So we loaded up, went to Asheville area. He got an Airbnb. I had no clue where we were going to stay. And we were there. We were at the land. And there was a Waldorf community where we wanted to send our children. Had always been in Waldorf school. They were just little at the time. And it was considered a sacred community. And the woman who had started it, she's doing wonderful work, but also, like, she's a very wounded child and has never done her inner work, refuses to do her inner work. And we bought land immediately. We didn't know this, of course, like, everything looked perfect, but then when we finally moved, which was 6 months before COVID, we were about to build a house in Colorado because we were kind of like, what do we do? Do we move here? Do we not? And we decided, Nick, my husband and I both at the same time, like, we got to go. And it was 6 months. We landed and we lived our dream, walking our girls to school through the woods for a year, and then slowly started to see things. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the work that I had already been involved in, and for, the rites of passage work as an adult that I went through, and, all the tracking stuff and all the deep work, healing work that I'd done to be able to hold my boundaries. And I felt like everything that was happening last year when everybody was going through COVID, I was also being ushered through this whole sacred community, learning how, holding my boundaries, and also watching others. There was so many, it was so fascinating because you really got to see all the different parts that we play. I was going back to the divine play, like, there's the enablers, and then you have, I was probably the only one that was really holding steady boundaries, and I had to be an example to others as to how, and empower for others to hold their boundaries, because people did not know how to hold their boundaries. And I feel like this is a really important theme that's actually happening
in humanity.
And it even comes down to our day-to-day, as we are being ushered into the Aquarian age, with all of the technology, all the information that is right at our hands. It can be so stressful and neurologically taxing.
Yeah.
We have to be so careful with what we, to
expose
ourselves to, and also really creating diligent time to be with, our inner space, and knowing how to just, come into that space of relaxation and decompressing our parasympathetic nervous system.
But so the piece in there, you mentioned this right before we hit play, actually, was that you're realizing that the world is ran by narcissists.
Oh, yes, yeah. The world is run by narcissism.
Yes.
By narcissists.
And what the collective is faced with is having to hold your boundary.
Yes.
It's like we all have to hold our boundary. First, we have to figure out what our boundary is, and then we hold it. Wow, there's a great big spider crawling up. You see this? What do you see? He's a jumping spider. Oh, there's a little red one too. Okay, we got some little bugs there. I always pay attention to the bugs because to me they're usually showing me some sort of feedback loop about things going on. Anyway, here, just dear Sister Joanne's jumping in. Let's see what she has to say. She says, it definitely seems that NASA has an agenda that supports the DS agenda for manipulation and control of the populace. Sure. It's like one of the branches of the of the great big octopus control system. Narcissistic octopus. A narcopus. Kidding. All right, and then she says, I am dedicated to the idea that all who go into the field of education need to have done personal work, which they continue for their time of working with the children and the parents. Absolutely. Imagine, right?
Yeah. And everything that was happening in the school was happening externally. Like, it was a mirror of all the different, and it was a small school, and it was supposed, it looks like it's a facade. It looks beautiful, and so many people are moving from all over the place to be a part of this. And I hope, like, there was a lot, I think that hopefully can be shifting, or it sounds like a little bit of shifting. We're no longer part of the school because we could no longer give our money to the organization because of the deep lack of integrity. It was just, and there was no accountability whatsoever. And even though, and when you would speak up, then it was just like, you be quiet, and it got really crazy because I don't know if he was a real Heyoka or not, but it was, we kept drawing, my friends and I, who were kind of like, we'd moved from Colorado to be a part of this community. We're like, what is going on? And we kept drawing the Heyoka card. And this interesting man stepped in and just kind of, I'm writing a book about it right now, but it was so fascinating what unfurled. But essentially he yelled at her and he said, if they don't do what you do, you let them all fucking leave.
Okay.
And essentially, and she was just sitting there like a little girl looking up at him. And I was like, September, what's needed is collaboration. And then essentially she started yelling in my face, stop. And but nobody there were people witnessing this whole thing, but nobody was able to see it. Nobody was able to even say anything, which was fascinating.
Well, that's a classic PTSD response, which means they've already had some kind of emotional, mental pain
completely
that happened.
Yeah.
That keeps them frozen like that, right? So, right. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up in the military, and I had very sick, dysfunctional dad. I guess my mom was dysfunctional. I mean, like narcissism. I'm not new to it, Yeah. I have family members that are really significant narcissists, and I didn't know. I always thought it was me, but it was because I was the chosen scapegoat. So it's like, I grew up for a long time thinking that I was the problem. And then it wasn't until I got out of the scenario that I realized, holy crap, these other people that I'm around think I'm fine. I'm not the problem. It's actually these guys, So.
Right. So, it does make you feel like you've done something wrong, but yet you haven't.
Yeah, you haven't.
No,
it's just a kid being a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, but a lot more and more people are experiencing that. I really think it's a symptom of our culture.
It totally is. Yes.
And then, of course, being an empath and a starseed on top of all that just kind of exacerbates the scenario. But starseeds, this is why we need to do our work, so we can hold these boundaries, because being in our truth is the liberator. Oh, that's something I did want to mention. Dear Sister Starshine said something about associating the starseed label with being a rescuer. Okay, and I thought it was a really interesting thought, and I sank into that. It's like, yeah, I can see that distortion, weaving it in, but if you're really embracing who you are in a way with integrity, you're not really saving anybody. You're saving yourself.
Yeah.
Right. You're showing up for yourself, but in that, it's kind of like you're giving permission for other people to save themselves. So in that way, it's an integrity, but it's when, I'm a starseed, I'm going to stay high vibe, and I'm going to go to all these toxic places that's really costing me my well-being because these people need me. That's what the rescue looks like. The rescuer looks like, right? So I just want to take that moment to just talk about the difference there, because everything on this planet, in this reality, can get distorted, inverted, reversed, right? Everything. And the only way it stays in integrity is we hold it in integrity. That's the only way. Because if we don't own it and keep it within ourselves that way, then the hijacking that happens out here becomes the voice. And then all of a sudden that understanding of what a starseed is completely distorted and made irrelevant, and turned into something that it's far away from what it originally was.
Right.
Multidimensionals, I think, are another thing that's getting, the words are getting out there and people are using it more and more, but I feel like the people that are using it aren't actually there yet. It's like they can feel the resonance and they want it, but they're not actually there yet, but they're using it in their messaging and stuff like this. Yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, about the messaging, or how the whole getting yourself out there as an entrepreneur is.
Well, there's a lot to say on that, but you're doing great at it. I'm busy with mommyhood, and Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are grown. You know?
I know.
Yeah, I'm in a bit of a different stage. All right, dear Sister Joanne says, I am so sad to hear of the school's behavior. Rudolph would be very disappointed.
Yes.
This is also true for the Montessori schools in name, but have no idea what Maria was about. Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, so much happening in the Waldorf schools right now that it's really heartbreaking because it wasn't Waldorf. I mean, Rudolf Steiner named it. He put it out there. He knew exactly what was going to happen.
He did.
And then everything else, and even in the Waldorf schools, it's getting completely distorted what's happening.
Yeah, well, you know, he was definitely before his time. I heard something. I think it was David Wolf is a big fan, and he said that he hand wrote over 1 million pages of content. You know, of wisdom, of like you know, books and all this stuff.
It's amazing what he did.
Yeah, well, he boiled it down.
Mind-blowing.
He boiled it down to that means he wrote hundreds of pages every single day of his life to have that kind of volume of information. Isn't that amazing?
I actually have thought about it a lot, and it really, really is overwhelming as to how much vital energy that man must have came in with to be able to get that all that he did done.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and those, I call that encoded. He came in already encoded.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess that's what starseeds are. We come in, we're encoded. Maybe it's not all activated yet, but the encodement is there. We just need the one sentence, the one sign, the one event to trigger it, and then we're awake on a whole nother level. I don't know if you guys are with me. If you can feel what I'm talking about with that, maybe that's happened to you. All right, dear Sister Eva says, hey, how did I miss this? Oh, dang, I'll have to watch the replay. Just remember the time. Okay. Well, welcome, Eva, from Costa Rica. So, yeah, those encodements. So all the different frequencies that are going on with the Schumann and the sun and, you know, the solar flaring, you know what I mean? These are encodements for the masses. So if you weren't born with these encodements, they're all around you. They come in through all of your senses. They come in through your skin. They come in through the air, the very environment. So I feel like this is a supportive thing for us to be going through, a huge support to trigger these encodements while we go through these shenanigans. You know, so in a way it all plays together beautifully, synchronized, even though we may feel like, you know, maybe not so synchronized some days.
Right.
But these glimpses, when it is up, when we do see it, how it's all synchronized, we need to remember that and just kind of and do what we can to return to it when we are in those triggering times, you know. That's how I'm feeling that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, if there's any other pieces, guys, shoot them out now, or else we're going to wrap up. I'll let you guys know. I think next week, where am I going to be? I'm going to be somewhere else next week. I'm going to be in Arkansas next week. Wait a minute. In Arkansas? I can't keep it straight. All right. I might be here one more week, and then I'll be in Arkansas. The life of a nomad. All right. So if any of these thoughts that we talked about today are interesting to you, please comment. Please write things down in the comments here, and so we can have a conversation here in our little YouTube channel, and perhaps in some of our more closed kind of communities with the Rise group and on Facebook or the Telegram group. I really like the Telegram group because, you know, we have a lot of freedom to talk about whatever. You don't have to worry about getting censored or flagged or tagged or anything like that. I know that some of the folks in our Rise group have been tagged, and almost everything you post gets a quality alarm put on it. I don't know. I know it's so silly. It's like the things that they tag as quality alerts is also bizarre because it's esoteric knowledge, or you know what I mean. It's like, how do you fact check that exactly? Isn't it like that's the whole point? It can't be fact checked. Anyway. All right, darlings. No other comments coming in. All right, love you guys lots. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to, share this with a friend, go ahead and share our YouTube link, and let them know about, that they can join us in closer conversation. And if you are interested in diving into the dream work, I encourage you guys to check out the Dreamtime Healing Project. That's on our website, lightbodyacademy.com. The Dreamtime Healing Project. This is where we go deep into tracking into dreams, but not just tracking into them, but actually going into the energy of yourself with that dream, so you can unravel those things that are clouding up your lens into, that are keeping you from actually going deeper into the mysteries of Dreamtime. So you guys can check that out. Love you guys a lot. Mwah. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, look at this. The light's coming in.
Where's my hand? I can't find my hand.
We'll see you guys next time. Until then, have a wonderful day. Make it a great day. All right, we will. Bye.